Hi everyone. So let's get right to it, right? So before we start, forget everything. Forget everything, literally about adding, subtracting. Just remember, I just want you to keep the multiplying, right? 3 times 3, 9, 8 times 7, 56, 12 times 11, 121. No, 12 times 10 is 120, 12 times 11, 132. Anyways, Um, everyone makes mistakes, as I just did right now. So don't feel pressured. This is gonna be super easy. In the beginning, it's gonna be very slow. You're gonna even think this is really slow or a boring class, but just stick to it, and it's gonna get better as we move along. It's gonna get really fast. So, even though it's dull, just follow along. So today, right? What are we covering? So before we kind of go at it quickly, let's just go briefly on what we're going to cover, right? So we're doing elementary math. We're going to cover all these topics, the whole course. Not today. Today we're just covering two simple topics, right? Negative numbers and adding them and subtracting them, right? That's all we're going to do. Okay. But before, like I said before in the introduction video, I'm doing mainly conceptual. So when you're teaching conceptual, you're not going to see a lot of word problems or a lot of problems, a lot of practice problems. You're not gonna see that. You're gonna see sort of little concepts, and I'll explain that further along. Okay, so let's get to it. So get your notebook. First thing you're gonna write is lecture 1, right? And for the lecture 1, the name for this lecture is adding and subtracting. In math, we start with symbols, and think about why would we use symbols? So list of symbols and terms that mean addition. So what are some symbols and terms that mean addition? So of course, simple. Symbol is this one. It's just a plus sign. Very simple. Every time we see that, we know that we're adding whatever is on the left side or the right side. We're adding those things together. Okay, so far so good. Now what about terms? What about words? Well, what about plus itself? Right? That works. What else? Increase, sum, more than, longer than, or longer, right? Gained. So you get my point, right? So in your everyday language, you use terms like this all the time, right? And so because math is universal, you if you know how to read math and language, you can study anywhere in the world and you'll see the same materials, right? So in order to you understand mathematics in terms, you have to know the language, right? So this would be someone that knows how to speak English in this case, right? Which is why math, we technically don't, only word problems, but we technically don't use that as much, right? We technically stick to this, the plus. We like to use symbols. Why? Because just symbols is universal. It's anybody knows them. List of symbols and terms that mean what? What would be the opposite of addition? Subtraction. Right? And the same thing. We know that the symbol is this minus sign. That's what we've seen it as, right? Subtraction. And what is, well, it's the word itself, subtract, right? What would be something else? Decrease. If you haven't heard that word before, decrease is to reduce. Ah, reduce. Right? And obviously less than, right? Fewer, removed. All right. So it's again very simple, very straightforward, right? And again, we want to know, we want to understand these things, right? Addition, subtraction. We tend to relate them with the plus and the minus symbols, right? So that's the introduction for this, right? So now the next thing to do is topic. Okay. Topic 1. Okay. Oh my goodness. The number line. Okay. So the number line, nothing special, right? What is a number line? Right? It's just a line with a number, right? With numbers on it. That's pretty much it, right? Now the question is it useful? What is, why is a number line used? So the number line is more of an exercise to visually kind of understand what's going on when you're adding or subtracting, right? Or in other words, when you're going from positive to negative, when you're going from, from opposites in I don't know, up and down, left, right. Okay, the plus and the minus, just think about them as like opposites, right? They're going to go different directions. So the number line, the way I'm going to explain it, should help you visualize and understand this. Why? Because in elementary math, we're just dealing with like numbers, right? A simple line. When we get into just pre-algebra, we'll start learning the x and y, how to graph points, right? So it's still the same idea. Instead of going left and right like a number line, you're going up and down vertically, right? So, but it's the same concept, the same idea. Up is positive, down is negative, right? So, anyways, this is kind of how it's going to be. I'm going to talk a little bit first about what we're going to do, and then I'm going to kind of write it down to kind of reinforce what I talk about. So it's good to kind of pay attention when I'm in the beginning of the topic. So first thing is what my face was covering. What is a number line? Right? So if we paid attention, I'm just kidding. Is a line with numbers. It's just easy as that. Next question, right? What do you think? Is the number line useful? Can it be useful, just a simple number line? Right? Like if you really think about it, practically, maybe you haven't seen it, right? Or maybe you can't relate it or associate it to something that we actually use, right? But there is. Like this. Look at this. Mira, primo. A ver. So we have 0. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're learning Spanish. 7, 8, 9, 10. Usually the 10 is bigger. 11, 12. No, actually, it's not. Because we're in the metric, right? No, one of those. But I know it's 12 because it's 1 foot. 12 inches, 1 foot. Anyways, obviously, this is a what? A ruler. I can't even spell a ruler, bro. A ruler. Una regla. It's literally a number line. It's literally a line with numbers. Aquí están, with numbers. Going from 0 to however far you wanted to go. So, now you think about it construction wise, or people who are building things, a ruler, a measuring tape is extremely useful. People who are like, creating, I don't know, fashion, dresses, they have these, the measuring tapes, right? So a number line definitely is useful, right? So this is the simplicity of mathematics, but yet it's used in real world situations without even us thinking about it. That's how simple it is. It's just a ruler. It is useful. So the next step is I'm going to teach you guys how to create a number line. The one and create the number line the way that we're going to use it. That's going to help us understand the adding and subtracting, negatives and positives. Okay, so step one. So first of all, drawing a number line. Step one, step uno is draw a line. What color should we? We haven't used this color. Let's draw a line. You know what? And I'm not even going to make a perfect line. The same line the way I'm going to, you guys draw it. So I'm going to do it over here. If you guys don't have enough space to do it on over here on the right, just put it here just put it here below. It will be the same thing. Okay. That's step one. All right. Step two. Step two. So step two is show, well, before, if I tell you to draw the line and I tell you, hey, draw a line and never stop, find an end to it, right? So you're going to be limited to paper, you're going to be limited to space, but the line in itself, it could go on, mira, hasta allá, y hasta allá, which, very far away, forever in this case. So we have to show that this line that we're drawing, it's going to go forever on both sides, right? So that's what we're going to do. So show that it goes on forever in both directions. In or on in both. Yeah, who cares? This is why I teach math. I don't know English. In both directions. You guys know what I mean. So, well, how do we do that? So what I am gonna no. So this. So we're gonna the way we do that is simple. We draw the line. And the way that we show that it goes on forever on each side, first of all, we have to show the direction it goes, right? So the way we show direction is what? Come on, guys. Mira. Para allá. Y para acá, just arrows. Right? Now, how do we show, what symbol do we show that means forever? And I think, dude, they even made a movie on, they even have the word in one of the movies. Whatever, dude, it's called infinity. Right? So, let's do the infinity. It's like a sideways 8. That looked whack. Like this. Right? Step 3. So far so good. So again, the arrows means directions of where it goes, and the infinities means that it just goes on forever. Again, everyone should know this, even a no, just kidding. All right, this is what I'm teaching you. Okay, so step 3. So step 3. So now for step 3, similar to a ruler, what did it have? The numbers, the spaces, the lines. So how you're going to dissect, right? How are you going to cut? How are you going to make how big are you make this line so that it measures, right? Oh my God, I probably made it more confusing. But what I mean is like, let's say you have a tree, right? And you want to know how high is it? What's the height? You just happen to find a stick, and a pretty straight one too. So you find a stick lying around. You find some stick laying around. You're gonna use that to measure the tree. But let's say it's a really big tree. Let's say this stick is so big that it goes like it's like that big, and you're strong enough that you can hold it with your hands, right? Let's just say you could do that. You don't have to draw this. Sorry, don't draw this. I should have said that. This is just like a story that I'm showing, right? Let's say that's a tree, and you want to tell the village how big that tree is to other people. So what you can say, like, oh, you can kind of look all the way over here and kind of take a guess. Oh, it's about like, I think it's about right here. And the reason I say there is because when you're looking from down up, your perception changes the way you look. But anyways, let's say you wanted to do that. It's going to be very inaccurate. It'll be very difficult to do, right? But the best thing to do is you mark it. You mark that branch, right? And you can mark it by how the length of whatever you decide to do. Maybe you have a brick. Maybe there's a brick lying down, right? There's a brick, and everyone, and maybe in their town, they're familiar with that brick. They're familiar with the size of that brick. It's a universal thing from where they're from. So what he could easily do, he could lay down that stick, right? And mark it in every section. Mira, primo aquí. Y luego he lays the other brick. After he marks it, he aligns it up with that line, and then he marks it again. And so, oh shit, look, I forgot I could do this. Let's make it cool. All right, so you get my idea, right? Mark them. So then you could go back, and then you would see, that, right? But then even more intelligent, what you would say, you would then bring this. I'm gonna use the magic thing again. Then you can easily come here. We can take that. We can put it next to the tree. And then we would know exactly where he would be. And in this case, it would tell us that, oh, shoot, look at this guy. This guy is actually between those two, right? So again, you would come back and say, hey, it was on this number. So anyways, again, knowing the distance, it's because it gives you information on something that you measure. So in our case, we have inches, right? The ruler, has inches, has centimeters, whatever it is, right? And there's the what's it called? The tape measures that the construction workers, they go to feet, bro. Yards. So anyway, so you get my drift on that. So that's why it's important. It matters to understand what, where everything comes from and why something exists. Always ask yourself that, right? So the next thing that we're going to write in this case is now we have to cut the line. So dissect or cut the line in equal pedazos, pieces. How do you spell pieces? Like this? Pieces? Or is it pieces? Just kidding. Pieces. So now the way I like to dissect it, I like to start it in the middle, right? So let me get we draw it again. And this is why, I kind of meant you guys to get a notebook that has squared paper, right? I mean, squares, whatever, right? Because you can easily, oh, I'm gonna forget. All right. So the next thing we gotta do, we gotta dissect it. So normally I like to start in the middle, and then because it's easy to cut. You kind of see the whole line. You kind of eyeball it. Shoot. You kind of eyeball it, and you kind of say, okay, where's half of this whole line, right? What's around right here? Now you could go to this part right here and say, what's half of this? Right here. That's if you don't have the lines, right? But if you do have the lines, obviously this is nonsense. You could just go like this and like this and like this. But if you don't, you just look at this piece right here and you kind of see, okay, the half is right here. And then half of this space is here. And that's the next. That's it. That's step 3. Now, I know this is slow. I know, just kidding. Now, step 4. Now for step 4, it's easy. Number it. Decide how to number it, right? Or just begin to number it. So the way we do is we select the starting point. Select a starting point. You know. In most cases, this point is the middle, or also known as the midpoint. Okay. Now, when we select that, when we select that starting point, in this case, it would be like this one right here, right, the middle. What we're gonna name it as is 0. Since it's our starting point, is where nothing moves. We're not going, left, right, up, nothing. We're just static. We're just at that point. We haven't done or created anything, so it's 0, nothing, zero. So now select this. This point will be 0. So we get the number line again. I'll go a little bit quicker now, because I think you guys are getting the point now. All right, so we draw the line again. Is that the same size? Yeah. Is it? Okay. So we have infinity, infinity, and we have here, 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 here. So in this case, this is the midpoint, and I like to use a different color for this, so we're going to use 0 for here. So that's going to be our midpoint. Okay. So the next thing to do, step 5, is you're going to decide how big these spaces are going to be. Are they going to go by ones? Each space is going to be units of 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Or is it going to be halves? 1/2, 1, 1 and 1/2. Is it going to be tenths? Units of tenths. Sorry, my accent. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. You might drift. So you're going to decide how big these spaces are going to be. Right. So to start, we're just going to make it units of 1. Let's not make it complicated, because again, the idea is the same. The concept is the same. So in this case is decide the value of each space. In most cases, use space values of 1. Okay, so let's get this. Let's try it again. We have here All right, so there's going to be units of 1. So if I start from here and I start moving this way, right? And I start moving the other way, it's not, you cannot add them up. They're going to different directions, right? But I know it's each of these spaces is units. As I walk one space to the next, it's going to be an additional unit. So you know what? So before, actually, maybe we can make this as the following step, because I think it would be important to add one step in between. So let's do this for do me a favor. For example, do here, cross this out, and you're going to put 6. And we're going to do step 5. Follow along with me. Okay? So this is step 5. So for step 5, in the number line, since we're starting at 0, right? Since we're starting at 0 in the middle, we have two directions, right? We have the right and we have the left. And because they're different directions, we use a symbol to differentiate both, right? So if I say, hey, go to the right 3 steps, hey, go to the left 2 steps, you know which direction to go. Use positive to go to the right, and of course use negative to go to the left. Okay? And as you guys know, positive is plus and negative is negative. So let's draw the number line again. We draw the 0 starting point. And now we're going, oh, and we forgot we also forgot it over here, but we'll do that later. We'll do now the way we're going to do is, to the right is this way. So we're going to go to the right is over here. And we're going to name it positive. And to the left, and you guys already know, it's going to be negative. All right. So now that we know step 5, now let's go to step 6. Now that we have that, now we know that this side is negative and this side is positive, right? Let me actually make this go a little bit to the bottom so it's not too crowded. So now that we have that, now we said that we were going to use units of 1. So if we start here at 0, right? And want to make sure, let's say visualize you are right here. Hey, right? And you're asked to go to the right. Well, spaces of 1. So that means each of these spaces is going to be 1. The next one's going to be 2, 3, right? Makes sense? This space is 1. This space is 1. This space is 1, and so forth, right? So 1, you walk from here to here, 1. And then you walk another 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, right? And then from here to here, you walk another. Obviously, this is intuitive, right? But again, I want you to understand that this is not by accident that you think this is really easy, right? You intuitively and just it's just common sense, when it's taught this simple. I hope it is, right? I hope it's not like, what are you talking about? Anyways, so it's each of these spaces is a unit of 1. 1, 2, 3. But because they're going to the positive side, these numbers have to be positive, because if they tell you, hey, positive 2, it means that you're going to the right 2, right? So that means what it means, so in essence, you could put a plus in front of it. Each of these numbers is a positive number. Now what happens, which means that, and all it means is, anytime you go to the right, it means that you're going into the positive direction. So no matter where you're at on this line, you could be here. So, final step. Complete a full number line. That's it. Let's just kind of do one together just to finalize it, right? So we're going to do one number line. Okay. I know it goes to infinity, so we have to, let me do one better. Here it is. And then we have positive. Actually, we have to put first put this is. So remember, it matters where you start or where you're going to choose to start, because that's going to be your zero. But it doesn't really matter if it's right in the middle. You can choose whatever. Typically, it's in the middle because it helps. But in this case, you know what? I'm going to use this one. 0. And the same thing, we know to the right is positive and to the left is negative. Let's do 1, right? So to the right is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we know all those are positive numbers, right? We can write the positive if we want. And then over here we have the negative numbers, -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. That's it. That's how you draw a number line.